Hey, thanks for joining SERVi Homestead, friends. Today, we incubate the eggs. Hello, friends. Thanks for joining us on SERVi Homestead again. So right now, Simeon is putting marks. We want the larger side up. That's where the air pocket is. And this can also help us to know which direction the eggs are flipping. Not right on the top, Sam. Not right on the top, kind of on the side. That way you kind of know as you rotate the eggs, which is one of the steps, you kind of have an idea of how far they're rotating. And if you don't have a tilting rack, then you definitely need this mark to show you that one flip the mark was up and the next flip the mark was down or sideways and back and forth. So we have green eggs from our Americanas and brown eggs from our Brahmas. And we might try a few of the little white eggs from our Spangled Hamburgs.
How to incubate chicken eggs.
Made this incubator with my uncle a number of years ago. I'm not even sure, maybe 8 or 10 years ago. He saved most of the wood for me. It's double thick plywood and a piece of piano hinge here and a rotating latch. And we just put the molding up here to make it look a little bit nicer. We made some trays. At the time, I was interested in incubating quail eggs, and so we didn't need a large incubator. Now, it'll still work for chicken eggs, but just not quite as many if someone was trying to do large production. And I just used a wire and string. So the tray also has foam padding in here so that the eggs have a soft cushion to rest against. All right, let's open it up and see what's going on. See, extra thick door. And you can see the tray rack right here. The tray rails. And I have a couple of thermometers in there. And up here is where the workings are. And if you look inside, you can see the heating element around the top. And we wired it with a light bulb so that when the heater is on, the light bulb comes on, so you kind of know how often it's coming on. And it's all connected to a thermostat which comes out here. I have a piece of tape on it so the screw doesn't move, but you may be able to see in there a waffle thermostat right there. And it actually physically expands as it gets warm, and when it expands, it gets to a switch, and the switch turns off, meaning it's warm enough. And as it cools, it contracts, and when it gets too cool, it releases the switch and lets the heat come back on. There's also a fan because it's good to have the warm air circulating, and it also helps the moisture to circulate. So I used to have this beast right here. I think it's a microwave fan maybe, or something similar. It could be from like a ceiling vent for a bathroom or something, I'm not sure, but it was just too much and it was hard to get it just right, and it actually shook a little bit. And so I simply wired up a cooling fan from a computer, and so we plugged that in separately. It's not nearly as loud or as violent, and it blows across the back down so the air can rotate in loops. Alright, so we're laying the eggs in here, and we will have them tilting instead of going in there and actually rotating each one. There are some advantages to tilting them. One is it's more consistent, so sometimes when you go in there and rotate them by hand, you might spin it more than you did the last time or more than the next egg. And so this is pretty consistent because the whole tray is being tilted the same amount. Also, it takes less time, and you want to keep your incubator door closed as much as possible. So every time you open it, it cools off a little bit and you have an inconsistency. So you want to try to be as quick as you can when you go in there. And so simply having a wedge is the quickest way. We'll add some water. We'll put water in this egg tray as well and put it up here. You want a good bit of moisture. The experts say it needs to be around 100 degrees. Let's get that tray, Steve. All right. So we started it up early and let it sit there warming to make sure the temperature was okay. Must be this way. And it's right around 100 degrees from the last time we used it months ago, which is great. So we place the eggs in there. And we will put our wedge. Highly skilled craftsman created this wedge. It's a one of a kind. And that gives us a pretty decent angle. And then later on in the day, we'll move the wedge to this side and it'll rotate this way. Probably 3 times a day is great. Morning, afternoon, maybe at lunch or when you get home from work, and then maybe later at night before you go to bed. And then they'll stay there, all through the night for about 8 hours, and then in the morning you rotate them again. So it ends up working out pretty well that way. Yeah, it's been open, so it's not showing 100 degrees, but we'll go ahead and put the other tray in and close it up, and we'll be all right. Here are some of the numbers you need to know when incubating chicken eggs. Write your starting date. Add 21 days. And they'll start hatching around that time. Sometimes you might see some beaks start to break through the shell before 21 days, and it might take them half a day to get out. But that's what the experts say. And also about 50% humidity. And more when you get closer to the hatch date, a few days before they hatch. And the true temperature is 99.5 degrees, but that can be a little tough to keep, so I just go with 100. 99 to 101 should be okay. And before you know it, you'll have some chicks, and you can start adding to your flock. Or start your flock. You can get some fertilized eggs from someone you know and maybe start incubating them. And of course you can buy an incubator. You don't have to make one. The ones you purchase are probably more accurate with the temperature and a better thermostat and quicker heat up with the heating element. But I like to make stuff when I can. It's fun, you learn things, and you can take pride in it. Something else I wanted to share. What was it? Oh, yeah. So chickens will lay an egg even without a rooster in the flock. Their bodies will cycle, and then the egg needs to come out. Now, stress can throw them off. Shorter days with less hours of sunlight can throw them off. Or a really dark living area, and that's why they don't lay as often in the winter time. So right now for us, our chickens have just started to lay well again. The days are getting a little bit longer, and so now we get a better percentage, about 5 eggs a day, sometimes 6 from 10 laying hens, which is pretty nice. So we're incubating so that we can increase our flock and get a few more eggs a day, so we really won't need to buy eggs from the store anymore, which would be pretty neat. So having a rooster allows the eggs that are in the hen to get fertilized. Not every single egg will be fertilized, so you'll still have an egg or two out of, say, 25 or 30 that was not even fertilized, and it just won't hatch. So don't be too disappointed. And then some of them may just have deformities as the chick grows, and you may have a couple that just didn't hatch, and you crack them open outside and you find that there's a partially formed embryo in there, or even a almost fully grown chick. But don't be too disappointed, it does happen. So the rooster will give you fertilized eggs from your hen, so you definitely want to get eggs from someone who has a rooster in the flock. Or if it's your own, make sure the rooster is around the hens and mating with them regularly so that your eggs will hatch. Best wishes on hatching your eggs. Take care. Thanks for joining us on SERVi Homestead. We appreciate your subscription